All right, I'm back. We'll see if anyone joins me. This one I had to do through StreamYard because my microphone was bugging out on me before, and I'm not sure why. But well, actually, I do know why. So I'm using my work computer, so it's kind of karma telling me I'm not supposed to do that. So I need to just invest in a new computer. But because I'm using my work computer, there's such security levels on my computer for software and things like that. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Sandra. Thanks for coming back. So the problem I've got is, like, as I've said this before, I use my work computer, and there's so many restrictions on the software that my microphone is actually sometimes looked at as a threat to my computer. And it sometimes works, sometimes it didn't. And part of the problem was I had not closed StreamYard out completely. So that's what happened the first time. The second time you could hear me, but when I put the microphone back in, it got blocked. So I'm using StreamYard, which means there's going to be a little bit of a delay from when I talk to when you hear it. So it's not my favorite way to do live, but I haven't done that many things live. So it's not like I have a huge amount of experience, but you found me. So hopefully you might have actually seen, I think, Rachel, I think you were on the live stream with Tim earlier tonight. I hope you were. I'm trying to remember who signed on. I think, Sandra, you were on there as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know a lot of people do not know Tim from over the years. So I hope people enjoyed getting to know him a little bit and seeing his deep dive into uranium glass. So this is basically my third time that I'm going live in less than 24 hours. People are going to get sick of me, but I've got a lot that I wanted to cover. And what's happening, for those who don't know, I have been in Kentucky this weekend, traveling with, I'm visiting some other YouTube vintage creators, and we've basically been shopping. The whole thing started because George, hey, Tri-State Picker Mom. The whole thing started because George, the antique nomad, he had an estate sale. That's what he is, an estate appraiser. And so he does clear outs and things like that. So this was George's first estate sale since shutting down for COVID. So it promised to be a very big event. And it was. He let us have sneak peek the first day, and all of us, Misty from Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter, Jeffrey from Real Nifty Vintage, Laura and Mary Beth from Fatbird Finds. Hey, let's see, Vintage Thrifted Treasure is I know this, Laura Melendez. People change names and it wigs us out. So I just sent you your invoice, Laura, and I had to cross-reference to make sure that I was connecting the right people to the right emails. But anyway, so there were a bunch of us there, and he just had everything. We had a little game that he said, he's like, something in his estate sale was over 200 years old. And if whoever found it was going to get $5 off of their purchase. And that went to Jeffrey, was the one that found it. I ended up buying the piece, but Jeffrey found it. So we just had a blast. And I'm sorry, Tri-State Picker Mom, I can't remember your real name. So Tri-State, hello. Hi, Michelle. We did spend a bundle. I don't know what everyone else spent. I know I didn't technically have a budget, but I spent way more than what I would have budgeted had I really had a budget. I just found stuff. And in some cases, I found things that I've never sold before. So he had, if people watch Jeffrey's channel, Real Nifty Vintage, probably about, Tri-State is Lacey. I'm going to try and remember that. I never remember, but I will try and remember. And hi, Michelle Decker. Jeffrey did a video probably about a month ago, I want to say, and he had a whole collection of Gouda. I need to learn how to pronounce it. Scandinavian pottery, and George had all kinds of it, and they were small, they were beautifully done, they were inexpensive, for me to pick up, and he was really trying to work with us on prices. So he knew we were all resellers. So he was trying to, he needed to make money because these were estate sales. In some cases, he was selling on behalf of other people. So he still needed to make the right money. But he gave us some really good prices. And so I just came out with a lot of stuff that I never would have thought that I wanted, but I had a blast. So that'll probably be another, hi Kim from One My Vintage. And hey, Rebel Junk, welcome back. I know you were in Tim's live chat with me earlier on uranium glass. So good to see you back. So that'll be a haul video in and of itself. I'm actually, fingers crossed, George may actually join me for a live haul for the stuff that I got in his sale. I'm really hoping to do that this week because I'll probably put some of it in my live sale on Thursday. So we'll see. George is a busy guy, and all of us want to do the same thing. So we have to try and schedule and figure out the best way to make it work. So we'll see. But so what I'm going to do tonight, I got so much stuff on this trip. Some of it was on my way down. So I live outside Chicago. I live in the western suburbs of Chicago, and I was driving basically the length of Illinois to get into Kentucky. And so for anyone that knows Illinois geography, I basically took, hey, Nate, and hey, Terry Ann. I basically took I-57 due south, and that goes through it goes through a lot of small towns. It's very rural. But there's a couple small towns that I have been to before since I started. I've been to them originally, but then I've been to them a couple times since I started reselling. And you do shop a little bit differently when you're reselling. So there was one in particular in Effingham that I really wanted to go to because the first time I went there was as a reseller, and I literally filled my shopping cart. It's one of the few times I've ever done that because they had just amazing things at amazing prices. And I was being a little bit more selective this time. But I still ended up getting a lot of stuff, and they still had amazingly good prices. So I'm going to start, though. I'm going to do a live haul. I went to two places in Effingham. So I was up in Paxton, and that was the haul video I did this morning. So if anyone joined me for the live haul video, that's now up somewhere on my channel. But I did a live haul video this morning on what I saw in Paxton. And that was quite a bit too. Now those were shops that I'd never been to. So that was kind of a new experience. And that ended up, Paxton's about, I can't remember what it was. I think Paxton was like an hour, maybe an hour and a half north of Effingham. And Effingham was where I really wanted to go because I knew that this one shop, that was where I really wanted to go. So, but when I was Googling it, I turned out there was another shop in Effingham. Unfortunately, when I got there, it was like 20 to 5 and they closed at 5. And they were not kidding. And by 4:45, they started turning off the lights. So I didn't get a lot there, but I did find a couple of things. They had a clearance center. I don't do a lot in copper, but this was in their clearance item. It was $1. And it is actually stamped on the back that it's the Copper Craft Guild in Taunton, Massachusetts. So the fact that it was stamped, the Copper Craft Guild, I don't know much about this one. I actually should have researched it before I went on. But it's going into... It's an aesthetic that I don't always, go after. There's a little bit of tarnish on it. There's a little bit of wear. It's a little bit, it's not really industrial, it's copper, but it's not as pristine as the chip and crack free crystal and porcelain that I like to carry. So it's just a little bit different. So I'll probably just end up selling this in one of my live sales, maybe this Thursday. I've got a lot of stuff to go through my live sale, but it'll probably go in my live sale. I paid $1 for it. To me, this is something I could probably turn around and sell for around $6. That I think that certain people, this would really be, really good aesthetic. And then I also picked up a gift for one of my viewers that I don't think is on here right now, but bought a few things for me before, and I saw this and thought that it'd be something that she would like. So got that. So those were the only two things. So literally they were turning off the lights. I could not believe it. And they didn't even warn me. I'm in the back. They literally, I'm in the dark. I'm like, excuse me, I'm going to kill myself trying to find the exit. But whatever. And then I left at probably 5 till. Only bought the 2 items, paid cash, all very simple. So I get 5 till. I go in my car. They left right behind me. I was still in the parking lot, and they left. I'm like, you close at 5, and it is not 5, but whatever. So Katie, glad you're back. Glad you love copper, because I found something at the shop that I really wanted to go to, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. But since Katie is on here, I'm going to start with a set of these little Coca-Cola coasters. And these sent me down a really weird rabbit hole trying to figure this one out. So this is a set of 6. From what I can tell, these were created in 1983. And when I first started searching for them, they were all saying they were coaster ornaments. They all, like, literally, there's like 5 or 6 different listings that I found that all said these were ornaments, and they, had little tag stuff, and it was straight from Coca-Cola that says, "Oh, with hole, hang with a normal ornament hook." There's no hole in this. So, doing a little bit of digging, I found some postings from like 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it seems that the coasters were made at the same time as the ornaments, but that the ornaments themselves were the ones that obviously would hang and the coasters did not. So I'm guessing, so if you know anything about these, or if you have your little secret book, Katie, I only paid 50 cents for them. They're in pretty rough shape, considering they were in 1983. They're not necessarily that old, but they are, they're showing some wear. And they are steel. I don't have a magnet here in my hotel, but they, according to the listings, these are steel, and they're a little bit heavier. So that one I think is Elaine, if I remember correctly. One of them I think was the Hamilton King girl. See, it's like it depends on how much. It's a test on how much I remember from Vinny's deep dive. So I think that's the Hamilton King girl. So they took some of their popular trays. I remember her in the yellow dress, but I can't remember what her name was. This is the one I remember from the first one that in the originals, her drink, I think this is the one. In the originals, her cup said 5 cents. And in the reproductions, they say drink Coca-Cola. So they did a reproduction of the reproduction. So Katie's looking that one up. I only paid 50 cents for this set. They're not in the greatest of shape. I did find some that sold, and they sold for roughly $10 to $20, but nothing like super recently. And sometimes they were selling in addition with the ornaments that would sell for a little bit more. If it's still the box, it would sell for a little bit more. I've only got 50 cents into them. So in this condition, first of all, they're coasters, so I had to pick them up. This will probably just end up in a live sale, maybe $5, something along those lines, because I do think they're kind of like, again, for that kind of an aesthetic, I'm not going to try and clean them up. Although some of them appear to have, like tape marks and things that probably could be cleaned off a little bit, but I don't want to clean off. I don't want to ruin the paint job any more than it already has. The back has a little bit of oxidation to them, so again, this isn't really my aesthetic. But I learned, I did pay attention. I've texted Vinny and Katie multiple times just this weekend. Every time I find a Coke tray, it's like a pop quiz for myself. Like, okay, the trademark is not in the C. So it's a reproduction, right? And one of them was in a case, and I was having bad internet connection because, I'm in Kentucky, and I couldn't get into the case. And so I'm asking them about it based on the picture. They couldn't get the picture because it wasn't going through because the file was too large. And they're like, well, you need to see the back. I need to know what the back says. So I finally got the case to open, looked on the back. I was like, this is a reproduction, 75th anniversary. I'm like, oh, I guess I really didn't need to text you guys because it's pretty obvious it's a reproduction. So I've yet to find an original in the wild. Not surprising, they're pretty rare. But I have found reproductions. And now that I've done that deep dive with Vinny, I now know. Again, I don't really buy Coca-Cola. That's not my thing. But now when I see them, I like, okay, I do turn it into a pop quiz. I'm like, okay, how do I know? And so he gave a couple cool tips. You haven't seen it. It's in my archives under my, Trusty's Vintage Deep Dives. There's one on Coca-Cola tins, and he just gives a couple tips on what typically is what's typically a reproduction versus how to tell if something's typically if it's the original. And it's just been kind of fun to test some of that when I go into the wild. So yeah, it's like Katie said, it's always a fun game to figure it out. And the reproduction, I would have figured it out once I bought it, but I'm saying going, okay, it's $20. That's even too much for me to test it. But then I saw the booth was 50% off. Like, ooh, it'd only be $10. So I'm like, even if it's a reproduction, there is a market for some reproductions. But then this one was like, it was like something really relatively new. So I'm like, yeah, we passed it by. So anyway, got some Coca-Cola. So I did like a lot of metal. Well, not a lot, but the first 3 things I show you are metal. That's just out of coincidence. So that was at the Effingham. So again, 50 cents. almost nothing. Another item that I picked up, it's not marked, and I have a feeling it's not particularly old. I mean, it's made to look very old, but I thought it has some nice detail, some pierce at the top. It's not marked in any way, but I paid $1 for it. That this again will probably just end up in a live sale, because if it doesn't have a name or something specific that you can tag in Etsy, it's hard for things like this to sell, because literally people just don't find it. So I do much better on Etsy if I've got, like, if this had a label of some sort, even if it wasn't an important name, people, if they stumble across it, like to know. So this one, not, this one is just not, is again, not valuable. I got hung up with, I saw Katie said real, not repro. I'm like, well, I don't think that's real, like Ming porcelain, but no, she's talking about if the tray had been real, it would have been $3,000. And what I found was probably a $5 tray. But anyway, so this is like, again, I paid $1. So this will probably go into a live sale. I wouldn't be asking for a lot. Like maybe this, I think, would probably fall in that $8 category. And I realized, some people, this was a topic we talked about with some of those resellers. Do people feel guilty if you find something for $1, but then try and sell it for more? What everyone needs to realize, that I'm probably going to end up spending just in this trip, $300, hotel, gas, meals, which I guess I'd eat at home too. But, it's one of those cases. This didn't just cost me $1. It cost more than that. And then the time I took vacation days to do this, I tend to try and be practical. So yes, I may only paid $1. And if you'd been in the same spot, you would have gotten it for $1 too. But I think this is something that somebody would be willing to pay something like $6 to $8 for, because it's attractive, it's lightweight, so it's easy to ship, which I'm finding is a much bigger deal. And I just kind of liked it. And again, I really started picking up a lot of cute things because they were some good prices, and but also focusing on what I can resell and ship. And this was one of them. Now, what I don't have with me, which I wish I did, literally less than a week before this trip, I went to one of my favorite thrift stores that just reopened. It had not reopened along with everything else in the month of June. And so it had stayed closed. And so they all of a sudden announced that they were going to be open. It's a warehouse of St. Vincent de Paul. It's their warehouse. So all the good stuff goes to their stores, and then all the other stuff or things that they don't think will sell in the store or whatever goes in this warehouse, and they sell everything dirt cheap. And they ended up having an owl that had this little fabric thing at the bottom, and had this hole in his beak. And I asked them, I said, well, do you know what this was? Because initially I thought that it was like a rectangular piece. And I said, it's glued in there, so it's not a sponge. And we figured out it was actually the little fabric thing was a pin cushion. And then the hole in his beak was for the scissors. I'm like, oh, cool. I've never seen that before. So I picked it up, and it was $1. And I'm like, oh, I'll sell that at my live sale. And then, so literally a week later, I find this, which is a pin cushion with a hole in the top to hold scissors. And this one has the tape measure sitting in the base. Isn't that cool? I've never even heard of something like this, much less seen one. And I thought it was cool. So it'd have to be some pretty lightweight scissors. I mean, the hole goes all the way down, but if you have heavy scissors, that would just like chip the heck out of the inside of this. So I don't know if those little stork scissors that are only like 3 or 4 inches long, I'm assuming that's what goes in them. I mean, I would think they'd have to be small, even though it's long enough for something longer. Or maybe you put something like, it's already got the tape measure. It's got a place for the pins and the needles. I don't know what else would go in there. I mean, other than scissors, it seems to be the one that makes the most sense for sewing stuff. So anyway, I picked this up. It was marked 50 cents. Yeah, and I think green was full price. So I paid 50 cents for this. So I've got a 50-cent telephone. That's a pin cushion. Now this one does have the tape measure. The owl does not. The owl I paid $1, and I'll show him in another sale. And somebody just asked, the St. Vincent de Paul warehouse. I don't know I'm assuming there's more than one, but the one that I go to is in the town of Aurora, Illinois, so western suburbs. It's pretty close to me, and they do a lot of furniture. Not really my thing. But then they have something called the bargain basement, and you just go down there, and it's a mixed bag. There's been times like nothing's priced. You basically take stuff upstairs, and then they will tell you what it is. And there's been times where they tell me what it was, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pass. Like, it's not that it's a bad price, but that, you know, if it, like in some cases, like I'm willing to pay $2, and they say it's $4. You know, okay, is it really that? It's a charity. You know, they don't negotiate or anything. I just put it back. It's like, oh, Michelle, you said you're in Plainfield. I grew up in Plainfield. So pre-tornado Plainfield, just for the record, I was in Lily Cash Acres, which was right next to the neighborhood that got destroyed. Well, one of the neighborhoods that got destroyed by the tornado. We lost part of our roof, and we lost most of our siding, had to be replaced, but we at least still had a home. So my parents were there for a while. I'm trying to remember. I graduated from Plainfield High School when Plainfield only had one high school when I grew up there. So I graduated from Plainfield High School in '88. The tornado was in 1990. And then the Plainfield that grew up post-tornado, there's something like 5 high schools. Like, you live there. It's become, like, I always have to say, I was Plainfield pre-tornado, because Plainfield is not the Plainfield I grew up in. So anyway, but, congratulations, Michelle. Class of 88, suddenly flashing that I think I might have known a Michelle Decker, but no, I don't think her name was Decker. Deckman. Michelle Deckman. Okay. It'd be really freaky if we went to school together. So anyway, yes. So yeah, it's Aurora. It's south of 88, west of 31, east of Randall, and I think it's off of Sullivan Road. And it's actually hard to find because they don't promote it. Anytime you look for it, they always talk about the actual DePauls. They're kind of, I don't know, they're embarrassed by it. I have no idea. But their phone number, I called the phone number one time when I searched for it, and it was one of the stores. So anyway, yeah. So I'm sorry. We for everyone else, Michelle and I just traveled down some weird little memory highway. She said her daughter graduated from the original high school. So okay, I haven't been to Crest Hill so long. Oh, Gallery 1700. So yeah. So anyone from Illinois? Oh, Laura. Oh, shut up, Laura. Class of 88. You want to announce that you're 4 years old? Thank you. I feel old enough all the time. People don't have to remind me. All right. So anyway, 50 cents sewing thing, kind of cool. Okay. This one I almost passed by, admittedly, because I assumed it was admittedly relatively well done, but I assumed it was a DIY piece. But I kept looking at it, and I just like, you know what? It's really well done. So even if it is a home studio, home ceramics thing from the 80s, I think it's worth it. I'm going to pick it up. And then I did pick it up, and it is from 1981. So I wasn't wrong on the era, but it's Fitz and Floyd, 1981. So I'm like, oh, hot damn. So I've got Fitz and Floyd. I've got a vintage Fitz and Floyd piece. It has sold. The most recent sale was $13. So it has sold in 2020. Sold for $13. I paid $1. Yeah, I paid $1 for it. So this will probably end up in a live sale. I will check on Etsy, which is where I primarily sell, and see if there's any others listed. If there are no others listed, I'll probably go ahead and list it on Etsy. But if there's a bunch of competition for it, that's one of the things as a reseller you kind of have to pay attention to. It's like, oh, hey, the last one sell for $13. But if there's like 20 of them listed, what's the likelihood yours is going to sell unless you sell it for like $5? It's hard. So anyway, so I did pick this up. It is Fitz and Floyd, 1981, which again, throw a blue bow around his neck and it'd be 1991. It's a look that a lot of people know, but it's very cute. It's got the little baby goslings, all on both sides, and it's in perfect condition. There's no chips, no cracks, there's no crazing or anything. He's in really good shape, and it is Fitz and Floyd, and that's a name that people know. And like I said, if there's not a lot of competition, it'll go on Etsy. If not, it'll go on the live sale. Last one sold for $13. I'd probably sell it on the live sale for like $10. I don't have to pay Etsy fees. I want it to go to a good home, and I'll make a little bit of money, and you guys can save some money. This one ended up being, again, a purchase. It was the pair of them for $1. So 50 cents a piece. Admittedly, one of them has the stopper is still with it. The other one does not. So it's a kind of a pair of little cruets. But there's like a nice little embossed design on the bottom. It's a name I'm not familiar with. It's Roman China, made in Japan, or no, not Rhyme. What? Oh, Rhymes China, but it's made in Japan. I don't know it, and I think I don't think I actually looked these up. I kind of rushed. I did my deep dive with Tim a little bit ago, and then I had run out the car, grabbed all this stuff, and I started, searching prices. I don't think I looked at these because I think I forgot. I think I forgot they had a stamp. Because again, I paid 50 cents each. Like this, again, these are, even if I find these are going to be something I'll sell on my live sale. There's something in the $10 for the pair. It's an attractive pair. You can keep the one with the top or just ditch the top, and they're both just an attractive pair of cruets. Oh, Fatbird Finds. Hello. So that Laura and Mary Beth are getting sick of me because we've spent all weekend together. But one of the things we did today, and this will be a haul video I do at some point, and maybe I can convince Fatbird Finds to do a live one with me, or maybe with her mom, because Laura's mom owns a store called Lehman's, and I actually picked up a bunch of stuff there that I'll end up reselling. Some of it I'll keep for myself, and I picked up a piece of Fatbird concrete. So if you watch the last Fatbird Finds video, was it the last one? It was either this past week or the week before. Now I can't remember, but it would be on their channel. If you haven't subscribed to the Fatbird Finds channel, you need to go do that. But they did a video, and they actually talked about how they got their name, and how they got their name is tied to Fatbird Concrete. And so they started painting concrete. So I didn't bring it in with me, so I guess I'll do that as a different video. It probably weighs like 10 pounds. It's like a small bird bath, and it's ivy, it's concrete, but they painted it in a way that's it looked like patinaed copper. It was awesome. So really excited to get that. And I got a bunch of other stuff from her mom's store. So welcome, joining the chat, Fatbird Finds. Okay, so that was so I got a lot of porcelain. Another piece of porcelain I got was a label I'm not familiar with, San Miro, Japan. It is yet another religious piece. Again, I'm surprised my hand is not bursting into flames, but I have this very well done Virgin Mary. I did some research on her, and I did end up finding her, but nothing. This particular style from San Miro, Japan, has not been on the market or hasn't sold according to WorthPoint since 2017. But in 2017, she sold for $30. So I need to kind of figure out if this is a label that's, got any merit to it. I personally wasn't familiar with it. But if it's sold for $30, even though it was 3 years ago, she's probably going to end up going on to Etsy, because I think I can probably get more from her on Etsy than I would in a live sale. And she's very well done. Her veil has some really nice detail to it. Her hands are in perfect condition. She actually has a really attractive, well painted. It says right on the bottom, it's hand painted. They did a very nice job with the look on her face. The one that sold in 2017, the one that sold for $30, she looked kind of funny, all right, waiting for the lightning bolt, but she was painted funny. Her eyes didn't look right. So this one is much better painted than that one, but I don't know what prices have done in the last few years. But she was marked $1, but pink was half price. So she was 50 cents. And she's an absolutely beautiful piece. So if I could find some other comps and be a little bit more confident, but I'll most likely put her on Etsy for somewhere in the $20 range, because I think she's worth it. And I don't know if she would sell for $20 in my live sale, because I tend to do somewhat slightly lower price items. But anyway, I thought she was really attractive, and I picked her up. I don't tend to do religious items. I joke about it, and I shouldn't. But I joke about it. I don't tend to do them, but that one is just really well done, and I wanted to pick it up. This was, the name of the shop. I don't know if I mentioned it. The name of the shop is called Silk Purse in Effingham, and it's a kind of a mom and pop type. I don't know if they necessarily donate their money anywhere. It's a large store, and one section of it is primarily the decorative objects, the kitchenware, things like that. Then there's another section that's all clothing, and then in the clothing section on all the walls is the art. And I don't do a lot in art because I've gotten burned a couple times trying to ship bigger pieces, but I'll still look for the small stuff. And this one, get the price tag off. This one is a kind of a neat frame. I think there's a little bit of age to the frame, but I don't know how much age. It's not, I do not believe, I don't have my loop. I don't believe this is inlay. I think it's painted. So I need to get that under a loop just to see exactly how this was made. But I thought it was a very sweet frame. And then what's inside of it, I should have popped this open. First, it's got a very old backing on it that a child, wrote on, which I thought was kind of sweet. Again, since, we all remember I don't like kids. But the inside the frame is this, and I don't know what this was. If this was like a kid's like fold-up book or what this was, but it has all these little panels of art of like pictures that were folded to show in the frame. So like the stork trying to eat the frog, that was the one that was out on the outside. But there's the bird. I don't know why the bird has a whistle above him, so I'm not sure what that's for. This was just seemed like some random drawings. Like I don't know if these were to trace onto other things, but who would want a bench or a bucket? Like I don't know why you would be tracing those things. They had the books in the corner. So this was really cool. This is what I'd probably put out, is this like this script stuff. And then this one is kind of cool too. It's if I do it upside down, you can see like a little watermill, scene. So this was just all folded up inside. And like I said, I don't really know anything about it. It was 50 cents. So like this by itself would probably sell for more than 50 cents. I thought it was kind of cool. Does anyone know what this is? Because the way it's folded, initially I was thinking it was a book, because if you look, there's holes here, like it was somehow bound together at one point, but there's no holes down here. So I just don't know what this is, like what this would have been. So people make whistles, you add water and blow slowly. Oh, okay, I've heard of bird whistles, but they don't look like that. I mean, that almost looks like a race whistle. And it kind of throws me because I don't know how old that style of whistle is. So I don't, the frame I thought was looking kind of 30s. But this, I don't know. I don't know if this would be 30s. Wait, Crazy Lamp Lady's here? Holy cats. Hi, Jocelyn. So if anyone knows anything about this, like it's in pretty rough condition. I mean, it's not like this is not going to bring big bucks, but I paid 50 cents, so it's kind of like this and the frame. I thought it was pretty cool. And like I said, I even kind of like the back. It's got this, I don't know what the protector would be. It says at the bottom, M and F5, maybe. I didn't bring my glasses. M and F5. Or no, that is an S. So M and FS. I don't know what M and FS would be. So anyway, oh, Jocelyn said they're needlework patterns. Oh, that's it. Well, again, who would do a needlework of a bucket? You're pretty desperate if you're needleworking buckets. But it may be, I guess, if like you made your own little design or something. I would totally see the birds in that. Some of these, and this was also the one that threw me. Like I don't even know what that's supposed to represent. This weird, what is that? A cone? What's the shape in geometry? I think that's not a cylinder. I think it's a cone. Anyway, so you sold a red work quilt recently, and the squares were similar they were for children. Okay, well, I could totally see the birds being done in red work. And I actually, now that you say that, I could absolutely see that house being done in red work too. My ex-wife and I used to own a quilt shop, and so they were contemporary. We didn't do much in antique quilts, but reproducing red work, it was a popular thing, and I could totally see stuff like that. Still thrown by the bucket. Oh, and Nate is saying that thing was a spinning top. All right, that I get that. I could see that. So anyway, again, we're talking so much. It was 50 cents. So it was, but again, this is like my favorite thrift store. I'm so excited to have it. And I think the frame is really kind of pretty. I'll keep them together but I'm not going to, again, this isn't going to be big bucks. That was just kind of a cool item. Another thing that won't be big bucks, but it's something that I like. I like these chop plates, and they don't sell particularly well for me because they're heavy. And so since I only sell on Etsy, and my Etsy store currently, although I'm seriously thinking about changing it, my Etsy store does free shipping. This starts getting pricey because I have to protect myself from shipping to people like Karen Dondelinger, who's on here and buys all of my glass and makes me ship it to San Francisco. Love you, Karen. I have to protect myself. If you end up with like 2 pounds worth of stoneware going to California, what I discovered you can do, if you're not a reseller, you can do like statistics and things like that on Etsy. I'm sure you can do it on eBay too. And it tells you where you're shipping to. I barely ever ship to my own state. And I think it's because everyone in my state thinks that everything's too expensive. And everyone in California is like, ooh, what a deal, because I'm giving free shipping. And there's been a couple things. I don't think technically, knock wood, I don't think I've ever technically lost money. But I've come darn close because something ended up shipping. Ended up being in a box bigger than I thought it would be. I shipped that people that used to watch my old videos. I used to have that Bach Delftware plate that was behind me. That cost me $50 to ship. I hadn't planned on that. So, because I went to California. So I went to actually a movie producer. Wasn't a production house I'd ever heard of, but I'm like, hey, maybe it'll show up in a movie someday. So anyway, I've got these chop plates. I really like them. I'm closing up my antique mall space actually Tuesday. I'm going to go shut it down. And then I'm actually on the waiting list to open in a new place just down the street from my house. It'll be a lot closer. And I want to have these. So I paid 25 cents for this. This one is not, it is not marked, but I've had this pattern before. It's actually Taylor Smith and Taylor. And I can't remember we just talked about this in one of my other videos, that somebody's big into Taylor Smith and Taylor. And we were talking about how some of their things never get marked, or a lot of stuff's not marked. Well, this is one of them. And it says made in the USA, but this pattern is called Honey Gold. So the honey gold pattern, they also have something similar. I've had it in the green, which I think they call, I want to say green onion. I want to say green onion. Anyway, so I knew what this was when I bought it. And they don't sell for huge money. The last time one of these sold, according to WorthPoint, was 2019. Sold for $14 at the time, and that's without shipping. So I think if I put this in my booth this would even be something I probably wouldn't want to sell during a live sale, because then when you go to ship it, unless you're local, it's going to seem expensive. So I can put this in my booth maybe for like $8 and be a very good deal, and you're not shipping it. So I was really happy to get that, and I think it's really attractive. I like Taylor Smith and Taylor. I don't carry it all that often. Some of the links when I was looking for the post, they called that mid-century modern. So it's I don't carry a lot because there's not a lot out there. So when I can get it, I will do it. I also got some scarves. Not sure why, but they were inexpensive because everything in this thrift store is inexpensive. This one I picked up because, and I can't find the top of it. This one I picked up because it's a souvenir scarf from Budapest. And I've been to Budapest. I spent a day there about 10 years ago. My daughter and I did a trip to Austria, and we did a day trip, took the train down to Budapest. So we've seen a lot of these individual locations. I don't know if there's a big need for scarves from Budapest, and I'm not even sure the age on this one. There's no label or anything to say where it was made. I'm sure it is modern. Like, I don't think this is a super vintage. I don't think this is chiffon. I don't think this is anything fancy. It's probably some sort of a rayon. But I think this is something I probably will put on Etsy, because I think, again, if you go back into the Etsy does everything with keywords, there's enough keywords just on the scarf itself that people that love Budapest or Hungary or Eastern Europe, this is a really cool, I'm sure it's sold as a souvenir piece. Like I said, it's not that old, but I think I could get away putting this onto Etsy because they can't prove it's not at least 20 years old. So I think this is something that will go on Etsy. I paid 50 cents for it. It won't be a huge seller or a huge moneymaker. I could probably sell it for 10 to 12 bucks on Etsy. This one I think is probably a little bit older. I think it's got we've got the butterfly design. Again, there's no name, there's no label, but it's in absolutely perfect condition. There's no holes. It's not fraying. It's a nice, attractive, fairly large piece, but very lightweight, because we are going to summer. So, you don't want like super heavy scarves, but to me, this is a very springy, and can be worn in summer, just a very attractive scarf. Again, 50 cents. It seemed like a, pretty no-brainer. This one has the look of something 60s, 70s, but I think this is reproduction. I think this is like within the last 10 years. There is no label. And the only reason I say that is because, again, my wife, now ex-wife, we used to own a quilt shop, and we had fabric like this. So I'm not saying that it came out at the same time, but I don't think this is necessarily. Now, granted, the fabric we had was reproduction of older fabrics, but again, it's 50 cents. Exactly, Katie. It's 50 cents. So this one probably will end up in a live sale, because I don't think this one would, and probably the butterflies too. I don't think either one of them will be, they wouldn't have the keywords for me to be able to find, for them to sell on Etsy. So I'll probably sell them individually. I've sold a couple scarves. So Jenny's saying that's a stole length. Oh, so it's called, this one is a stole length, because this one's, to me, is square. This one seems like a handkerchief. So this is the stole one, or is the pink one a stole one? I don't remember. I can't tell when you put that post. So this one is definitely long and rectangular. So is the Budapest one. This brighter colored one is square. So this one I just assumed was like a kerchief type handkerchief. Okay, so the red is considered the stole. Okay, which makes sense, because that one, if you draped it down, it would hang probably not quite to your waist lengthwise. All right, only a couple other items. I wasn't planning on being on here too long, but anyone who's watched my channels before, I'm a talker. All right, so again, I'm still waiting for my back seat to burst into flames, because I bought The Last Supper, and I've been carrying it around in my car. So either God is my co-pilot, or God is like laughing at me. But this is a paint by number, a massive paint by number. So paint by number is becoming really popular. And we internally, we all joke about them, because Fatbird Finds has been trying to make a new one. And if you're not a subscriber to Fatbird Finds, we're going to turn this into a game. We need to get them to 1,000 as quickly as possible, because they said they would have their paint by numbers done before they hit 1,000. So I think the gauntlet has been thrown. So we need to get their numbers up. So if you're not a subscriber to Fatbird Finds, go get them, and that'll motivate them to finish their own paint by numbers. I think they've got a T-Rex dinosaur paint by number set. So this one's in its original frame, and they sell, surprisingly, they sell fairly regularly on eBay, because I'm a little worried about shipping this, but the benefit, there's no glass. So it may be a little bit expensive, but it's a really, as you can tell, it's a very large piece. And I paid $1. So this is probably something I'm going to end up putting on eBay. I've just started playing around with eBay a little bit. And what's going on eBay right now is either things that are too new to go onto Etsy. Because if you don't know, to sell on Etsy, everything has to be at least 20 years old. So anything that's newer than that, I can't sell on Etsy. So I'm going to try those on eBay. And the other thing that's going on eBay are the larger items, because I still have the free shipping on Etsy. So if I listed this on Etsy because of the free shipping, I'd have to list this for like 50 or 60 bucks. Because if I shipped it to California, it could cost me $40 to ship it. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put it onto eBay with calculated shipping, which means I'll probably not sell it to anyone in California, because they're going to calculate the shipping and say, are you kidding? We're not paying $40 for that. But I'm based in Chicago. So if you're in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, I would probably be able to ship this for under 20 bucks. So if I list it, they were selling, the paint by numbers were selling anywhere from 15 to 50. And those are sale prices, not listing prices. Like I said, there were multiples of them, and several of them were in that 25 to 35 range. So I could probably list them for 15 to 20, because unfortunately, he has a tiny bit of damage, which right now you're not even seeing. It doesn't show up on the back. It's only on the front. It looks like part of it was like pushed in a little bit. You can't really see it, but you can see it. You know, take my word for it. You can see it live, and I'm going to have to disclose that, obviously. So it's not perfect, and I could ship it without it being in the frame. But the fact that it's in its original vintage frame, I think, is kind of the point. It's kind of cool. So anyway, it's The Last Supper. Yeah, so like Jenny's saying, $60 for paint by number, that's crazy. But they've sold for 50 already, and that's not including shipping. So depending where that $50 one sold, it could have, like, all in, that could have been a $75 purchase. You know, it is. Some of the prices you sometimes have to you really do need to look. You can't assume you know everything. If you watched, and I'm sure a lot of you didn't, this is for my night owls. I also had a morning version this morning, and I was selling. They're not within reach now, but I was showing another haul that I did from Paxton, Illinois, and that included some melamine plates from McDonald's that were the Hercules movies. The set of 6 Hercules plates have sold 3 separate times in the last 3 months for over $75 a set for McDonald's plates. And there's 2 currently in auction right now that are both, one ends in a couple of days, one ends in like 5 or 6 days. They're both at over $40. Like, there's a market for these. And I paid 25 cents a plate. And I was only going to buy the 6. And then I looked and realized how much they were selling for. I'm like, okay, I want more. And so I bought their entire stack of plates. They thought I just really liked Disney. And Hercules is my favorite movie, but I was buying them specifically to resell because I was shocked at how much those things would go for. And so that's always this balance, because then those types of things have to go onto eBay. Because if I were to put a set of 6 McDonald's melamine plates into my live sale and ask for $75, everyone would just unsubscribe. They would think I was insane. But the fact of the matter is that it's not only that they sold once, they've sold multiple times. And there's currently a set of 6 on eBay right now, listed for $150. Now, granted, it's listed. That means it hasn't sold. The 75, those were all sold. So these things, for whatever reason, go for big money. And, you know, it's foolish not to take advantage of that. Yeah, Fatbirds said their kids eat right off those plates to this day. I'm like, okay, you're not talking college tuition here, but for $75, you can go find another really good set of plates, you know, if that's what they're worth. So, okay. So I am down to the last 2 items. I've got to decide which one I'm going to show you next. I'm going to save my favorite for last. So this is my second favorite to last. Second? Okay. I like this second most. No, that's not right either. Whatever. You don't care. It's getting late. All right. I just had my Dog Days of Summer sale last week, and I had several people say, where are the cats? Where are the cats? Where are the cats? Okay. At the risk of everyone unsubscribing, I'm not a cat person either. I don't like kids. I don't like cats. All right. But just suck it up. But this I could not pass up. So this is a very large basket, and it's a DIY piece. It's signed on the bottom, Carla, liked her cats. But for those who've watched my videos before, you may have heard me talk about growing up. I said I graduated in 1988. That means I was born in 1970, and no comments. But that I was a child of the 70s. So my mother in the 70s and early 80s had a Fran's Hobby Corner, and so she had a classroom in the basement, and she taught ceramics. I've made chess sets. I've made nativity sets. I've poured my own molds. I've done it all at the age of like 10. So I know ceramic pieces. I've never seen anything like this. This did not cross through a Fran's Hobby Corner. And even if it had, this did not happen. This has a fabric lining, and not only did they glue a padded fabric lining into the top, they decoupaged the same fabric onto the back to make it a blanket. So they made this little 2 cats are sitting underneath a blanket, which the blanket design is built into the mold. I mean, so they didn't come up with a blanket, but normally you would just paint it like blue or whatever. So they painted the blue across the top, but then they took the same fabric that they used to line the lid they glued it or decoupaged it onto here. So you've got a fabric lining that's squishy. You've got the fabric decoupaged on the back, and then in the base, you have more fabric that is actually padded. So, and don't be thrown by the fact that these look like quilts. Those are just printed in there. So like these are not actual quilt squares. That is not an Ohio Star. These are just pinwheel. These are just printed fabric that way. It's not dated, but I would say this probably is falling into maybe the mid 80s. I don't think some of the brighter color, I don't think that's 70s. I think that's getting into maybe early to mid 80s. But regardless, I was even willing to ignore the fact that there's a tiny chip in the lid, because I don't buy things with chips, but I will if they're unique enough. And this, to me, it's going to be expensive to ship. So I haven't decided if this is going to go in my live sale or if this is going to go into my booth. But I think I want to put it in my live sale, and then because I just think it's fun. And then just, people are just going to have to know. If you buy this and you live in California, you're going to probably end up paying $30 to $40 in freight, because I think even this is too large for one of the flat rate boxes. So even 2 flat rate boxes, I think it's too big for them. And yes, Katie, I didn't know what it was, but somebody else told me they think it's a sewing basket or a knitting basket, because I'm like, it's got fabric. So you wouldn't want to put like dinner rolls or anything in it, which was what my first thought was. And then I can't imagine you want to actually have your cat sleep in it, because that's just weird. You could like lock your cat into a casket. But regardless, yeah, decoupage was big in the 70s too. So so maybe this is a little bit earlier, but I don't know. Do you guys think this is 70s? I still think it might be mid 80s, early to mid 80s, but I could be wrong. But it's not contemporary. It's like this definitely falls into vintage. And I paid, this was the most expensive thing I bought. It was $3.99. So they sat next to me in the car on the way down to Paducah until I had to cover them up with my Wendy's bag because they were creeping me out. So anyway, so those are the kitten baskets. Oh, and if I didn't point it out, they also have a fabric pom-pom trim that they glued on. So they went all out. They definitely have that. Now, the last item, admittedly, some of you may have seen if you follow me on Instagram. I did post this already. But isn't this awesome? This is a piece of it's from DB Imports. I had to do some research. The only thing that's on it right now is a made in Japan stamp or a Japan stamp. But this was a fairly easy style to research. And that is so if somebody's, I just missed, give that sucker to Crazy Lamp Lady. So I missed what Jocelyn said. All right, she likes the cats. She likes the cat basket too. But this to me trumps the cat basket. So it has not sold anything recently. So I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do on the price. But I did post this on Instagram. I've already had several people were like, hey, let me know when you list that because I want to buy it. So this might actually be my foray into, I'm gonna probably put the Hercules plates that I was talking about. I'm probably gonna put those onto eBay as an auction. I may actually put this up as an auction too. Just because there are no recent comps. The last one I think sold in like 2017 or 2016. It's been a while. And I think this style has become more popular in the last year or two. And it's just super sweet. It's in really good condition. There's a couple places on the back that look like the paint has been kind of scuffed. You can kind of see there's a black mark there. It's not a chip, and it's just a surface thing. Like maybe I'll be able to use some Barkeeper's Friend and polish it out. And so, yeah, so Jocelyn's saying an auction. And I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have any experience with eBay, hardly at all. I've literally sold 2 things on eBay. So I need to kind of figure it out, because at this point, Etsy is just too limiting with the free shipping. So what I might actually do, like go a month, maybe in July, of considering oh, good Lord, that's this week. But just turning off my free shipping and just seeing how it affects my sales. Because I have a handful of things there that if you don't not to go down like a rabbit hole, but in Etsy, if you do free shipping, you have that when you set that up, you also are setting up, you can have things that don't have free shipping, but then if somebody buys at least $35 with you, you suddenly turn it into free shipping. And so I've had the situation where I'll place something on there for like $10 plus shipping, and then they'll end up buying it along with something else that has free shipping. So suddenly the $10 item gets free shipping too. And I know that, and I have a little bit of cushion built into there, but there's been a couple of times where that's burned me because they'll buy, three things that be like each one was under $15 plus shipping, and then they'll buy enough to get to that $35. And I can see they're doing it. Like all of a sudden they'll buy the one thing that's like $8, and I don't have that many things, but they'll like throw that in because if they didn't, their shipping would have been at least $8. So it's kind of like they're getting that last thing for free. So anyway, I'm not sure it's worth it because I pay for advertising too. And so that's something that Tim from over the years, he was the guy I had earlier tonight on my deep dive on uranium glass. He kind of educated me a little bit that because I'm already paying for advertising, the reason they like you to do free shipping is it helps you in their algorithm, but the fact you're paying for advertising helps you in your algorithm too. So we'll see. I do still like Etsy as a buyer. I still like Etsy, but eBay might just become more practical. And I will admit a handful of things that I've listed on there is a lot easier to list. And that's got to be part of it because let's not all forget, I do this on a side thing. I have a full-time job. So this is turning into another full-time job, but I can't, this is not what pays my bills. So it's one of those cases that I can try and test it. Like Jocelyn's saying, just start it for the least that I'd be happy for on eBay. And I think that's a good way to go. Like if I start something like this on eBay, to me, I would like if I were to sell this on my live sale, I'd probably sell it for $20. Like that was mentally kind of where I'd be at. So I'd probably maybe start this for like maybe $16.99, something along those lines. That I'd be willing to take a little bit less than $20, but I maybe I'll start at $19.99. We'll see. I'll do a little bit more research. I was a little rushed because if I had to start at $14.99, I wouldn't be like offended. Again, if I didn't say I paid $1 for this, again, the most expensive thing I bought was that cat basket. So I would make the money back, but let's not forget, I also paying for gas, hotel, like all that stuff. If I only sold at $14.99, I'd probably be fine. But I think that if I photograph this well, I think I could get some attention. And maybe what I'll do is I'll mention it during a live sale that if you're interested, hey, jump onto my eBay, and I should start promoting my eBay. I have a handful of things that are like 15 items on there, but I don't promote it because I want to promote Etsy because that's more my aesthetic. So I need to get over that. So Misty gave me a lot of tips this weekend, some of the things that Jocelyn just said. And I just think this might be a good way to test the water. And then also there's Hercules plates. The Hercules plates, I think, definitely need to go there because all of the ones that are selling right now, they're all in auction and they're all selling for slightly different prices, but they're all above the $70 to $75. So it's kind of like, you know what, I'd rather just do that. And again, if I only get 50, like I'd be thrilled because I paid $1.50 for that set. So it's just, I have to be sensitive to it because I don't have, like Jocelyn, I don't have Jocelyn's following. So I've got to just make sure it's going to have to be found on its own. So I have to just make sure I wrote a really good description, talk about it to the handful of people that come to my live sales and see what happens. And at this point, I want to start testing. I want to start pushing things a little bit. I started doing, if you don't follow my Instagram, you can get a kick out of it. Either the last post or the one right before that, I posted my very first shop with me video. I just don't do them. I'm not coordinated enough. And that video proved it. The entire video is upside down. Like that wasn't intended, but it was because I was leaning over so much. My phone thought I was upside down. And so it recorded the entire thing until I realized and I stopped it. So that's your entertainment value. I'll get better and I am pushing myself to do more and get more things. That was why with George, it was fun because I could try new things, but I had somebody telling me what I was trying. And I felt a little bit more comfortable with that. So it's like, is this what we talked? If you guys watched my my video with Tim on uranium glass, you've got to be able to ask questions. You got to be comfortable asking questions. And people are so happy around, helping people out. Like that's, in general, we tend to be giving people, okay, I may not like kids and cats, but I'll still talk to you unless you're a kid. No, that's not true. No, it actually is true. it doesn't matter. But the fact is, we all want to help each other, and we want to impart some of that knowledge. Now, I will never say I know anything. I'll tell you what I know, but I'm never saying it as like, this is gospel. This is the, like, I have fun doing the unboxing videos, because if you haven't found those are also archived on my page. And I've actually had comments made somewhat meanly that, basically saying like, who are you to judge somebody else's packing? And I'm like, well, I'm the buyer. Like, these are all things that I paid for. And when I think I have 2 or 3 separate videos now that on film, I opened a box that had something broken in it because it wasn't packed well. Yet people then sit there and think that means I'm trying to say I'm great. I'm like, no, trust me. Karen Doddenlinger's on here. The post office doesn't even want to pay my last claim because they think that like she and I are in collusion or something. So I get claims, but I do try and learn from this. And I can ask people like, Misty, help me out. How would I ship this giant paint by numbers? It's not, I got glass, so this one's not nearly as hard, but it's one of those cases that if you don't know, why, I'm not ashamed to say I don't know. I need help. Like, and people in general, this community is very giving. There was some negative stuff there. Like, we won't go into that. It's a very good and positive community. And all you have to do is ask. And sometimes these live chats, what did I show you? 15 items, and I've been on for an hour. Yeah, I'm a talker. But these live chats, these are a great way to ask each other sometimes. To just ask like, hey, I saw you. Like, a lot of this is what I'll do to some of the people, not typically in a chat, but like, oh, hey, I saw your video. You talked about this. Have you seen this? Or like one time Misty had what did she have? You guys probably, I'm sure you saw it. It was was it a popsicle house, like popsicle stick house, or tramp art of some sort? It was this massive house. And I just said, okay, when you ship that, I want to see the video, because I wouldn't even know how to begin to ship that. And I'm fascinated by how people ship things. And she said she'll probably just do it like a local, because it is that difficult. And there are things that I have not bought because like I donated probably a pretty valuable vase that I picked up. I don't know how valuable, but it was extremely well done art pottery that had the spaghetti swirls done out of clay. And they were all in perfect condition. And I just got to the point where I'm like, I can't ship this. There's literally no way I could figure out how to package this to not snap those little tendrils that were coming off it. It was from the 90s. You guys have probably all seen them, but you don't think about them until you have to figure out how to put it in a box. And so literally I gave it to Goodwill, and they probably destroyed it and ended up in the bins, and it's probably shrapnel right now. But I got it for free, and it was just one of those cases like, you know what, I'm just going to pass this on to somebody else who can give it a better home than I can, because I just didn't know how to do it. And I should have asked for help. I should have asked for tips, but I've got so much other stuff I needed to ship and sell. I figured it was let it go. But that was like some weird rabbit hole. Apologize, not sure why we went down there. But it is fun to learn from each other, and it's fun. And I mean, I don't mean to gush, but like to have people like Fatbird Finds and people like Jocelyn, join each other's videos. Like I get a kick when I join somebody's video and say something, and people are like, oh, hey, Trusty's here. We don't do it for the attention, but the fact is, like, we want to be there to help each other. And so if people reach out to me, I get honored by that and very humble. And I take it very seriously if somebody asks me my opinion. And there's been times where I've gone back and be like, I have no idea. Go ask Misty or go ask Jeffrey. Like, they're better skilled in certain things, because we're all going to know certain things and we're all going to not know certain things. And even I had something today. What was it? I had something today that stumped George. I didn't think that was possible, but George is human. George is fallible. And it was a piece I asked, we were trying to figure out if it was a piece of Tunbridge ware. And he's like, he thought it was, but he didn't know how to know for sure. Well, neither did I. Like, I knew what Tunbridge ware was. I've seen it online. I've heard people talk about it, but I've never handled it. So it's like, I'm like, okay, I think that's what this is, but I don't know. And he's just like, well, I don't know either. So I bought it. I should ask Laura. Yeah, I got it at Layman's. Should ask Laura's mom, like, hey, what is this, by the way? But it was priced low enough that it wasn't priced as Tunbridgeware. So I'm like, I'm not sure this was, but I picked it up because even if I only sell it for a fraction of what it might be worth, I don't have a problem with that either. I've had people comment, they're like, after they buy something from me, I've had people actually say, I can't believe you sold me that so cheap. It was worth so much more. Well, you don't know what I paid for it. And I'm perfectly happy to sell to resellers. I'm proud to sell to resellers. If they can make money off of something, there's many times that I'll be embarrassed if it's something that I just didn't know what it was, but that's how I learn. But to shame somebody, I don't have time for that. But there's always gonna be haters. I've gotten my thumbs down. I've gotten comments. Sometimes some I just leave and let people talk, and others I'll delete. It is what it is. Like, I'm not a personality, but I'm doing these things publicly, so people can do whatever they want with them. Anyway, that's enough. We certainly don't need to go down that road anymore. So Laura's saying that even older folk in Goodwill, what certain items are, they're going to know. Like, it's one of those cases that in some cases it's like literally like, what was this used for? And like, oh, I used to do my hair with that in the 50s. I'm like, really? It's fascinating to learn from each other. And the minute you stop learning, it stops being fun. Like, if I suddenly knew everything, I'd be really bored. I mean, I love going and finding things. I still have something I haven't listed because I literally don't know what it is. And I need to list it at some point simply because I want to sell it. But it's one of those cases, like, I keep hoping I'll run into some other example of it so that it'll give me some idea. And I may never do it. It's just a weird little lacquer item that I may never find another one. But that's what keeps it fun. That's what keeps it interesting. And I'm grateful that I do this on the side. So I'm not doing this as my primary income, so that I'm not as stressed about making sure I sell it for the highest possible price and that I list thousands and thousands. Like Jocelyn's saying, I mean, with Jocelyn's got to go through 10, 50 times what I go through. Yeah, you're going to come across those cool items and you pick them up because you're like, okay, I don't know what this is, but this is too cool not to buy. I'll figure it out later. And there's been times I've sold, I'll generally know what something is. I'll just sell it because, like, you know what? I'm going to make the money I want to make off of it. And if somebody else can then figure it out, that's where the fun is. And, if anyone ever buys something from me and later says, oh, hey, I discovered this, I would love to hear about that. Because that means, okay, now the next time I run into it, I'll be able to list it properly. And that's my thing. Like, I love the research. And sometimes it's hard to research stuff. Like this little sewing thing, it's not marked, just as Japan. Like, to a certain extent, it probably doesn't matter. It's a Japan piece. It's like most of those companies, not one isn't necessarily going to be that much more valuable than the other. So I probably won't spend a lot of time, hunting that one down. This would be something in, like, the ideal world, I probably would spend a little bit more time just to make sure it wasn't something a little bit more special. But when you've got $1 into it, if I turn around and sell it for $8 and somebody else does the research and they discover it's worth $80, go you. That's the people that put the research in deserve to be able to make that extra money. And there's a lot of us that do a lot of research, but then sometimes you can't do everything, because how do you research something that's literally not marked? Or Google Lens, like, this shape is not going to pick up on Google Lens. Like, it's that silhouette. It's kind of unique, but not going to happen. Anyway, all right. So I've got 2 of my hauls done. So I still have all of the stuff that I got from George. And then plus I've got the stuff that I picked up today. And then we actually did another shop yesterday. So I think we did, George's estate sale. We did an antique shop yesterday, Layman's this morning, the Shed, and then another antique mall. And I think I bought something at all 5 of those places. So at some point I need to do those haul videos as well. This got the bulk of it down. George is a lot. So that one I still hope to be able to do something live with George. So maybe watch for another, we might plan it, might be spontaneous. You never know. But I'm thrilled so many of you joined us. Joined me. I don't know where the us came from. Me and my llamas. So thanks for joining me. It's kind of, I really decided, I did the thing with Tim earlier tonight. And I'm like, oh, I can't go live. It's going to be too late. I'm like, you know what? I'm up. Let's try it. So I'm so glad so many of you are night owls and were able to join the chat, and appreciate you spending some time with me. It's Sunday night. Now I get tomorrow off, but for those of you who have to go back to work tomorrow, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for joining me, particularly the East Coast, because it's now midnight, after midnight. I'm going to sign off. These will be, this will go into my haul videos, and I did the one live this morning as well. That's the one from Paxton. Some cool stuff in there, and I will hopefully get a couple more within the next week or two of all the other stuff that we got in Paducah. So thanks for Fatbird Finds for hosting and kind of helping anchor all of us this weekend. And watch for videos from Misty and from Jeffrey and from Fatbird Finds and from George. We've all videoed at certain points at some point during the weekend, so we'll all be putting out some great fun content. Make sure if you don't subscribe to some of their channels, make sure you go do that. So thanks so much again. My name is Patrick, Trusty Huckster Mercantile. Find me at TH Mercantile on Etsy, Facebook, and Instagram. If you hunt for me, you probably can find me on eBay too, but there's not much there. And again, thanks for joining me, and thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. Have a good night. Bye-bye.